Immigration has been one of the hottest topics in the Republican presidential race and one the candidates are attacking the most. Few candidates have been as hard to pin down on the issue as Florida Senator Marco Rubio.
So yesterday, our Dave Price sat down one-on-one with Rubio to talk about why Rubio's immigration plan is intentionally incomplete and whether or not he's scaring voters with that message.
In your book, you have a very optimistic book, and talk about what your mom and dad went through to make sure, the kids can go to college and all that kind of stuff. How do you balance that when you're out campaigning with? You sometimes talk about some really deep stuff that can be kind of cloudy. I mean, when you're talking about national security, that's as deep and as serious as it gets. So how do you strike the balance between talking about serious stuff and still be optimistic?
Yeah, I mean, I think you can be optimistic and realistic. I'm realistic. We're heading in the wrong direction. All of my speeches end with the same thing, and that is that we're going to do what needs to be done. And when we do, we're going to have another American century. And our kids are going to be the freest and the most prosperous Americans that ever lived. But we have to get off this course that we're on right now. That's why we can't elect Hillary Clinton. If she's elected president, it's going to be like re-electing Barack Obama for a third term. Bernie Sanders just as bad. And we won't have much to be optimistic about. So I guess what I'm saying to people is you should be optimistic because I know we're going to win. And when we do, we're going to turn this country around. And I think America's going to be better than it's ever been. But we have to do it.
No fear that when people hear just clips of you, they don't get to see the whole experience. But when they see the clips of you on TV, when you're talking about that kind of stuff, though, do you fear at all, though, that you come across as a doom and gloom kind of guy?
No, because I think people recognize this is how they feel. I mean, people are optimistic about the future, but only if we do what needs to be done. But they're frustrated at the direction of our country. I mean, Barack Obama has undermined our standing in the world. He's gutting our military. He's basically governing in a lawless way by these unconstitutional executive orders. Our economy isn't creating good-paying jobs in sufficient numbers. Over 50% of millennials believe the American dream is dead. These are tough things. People are living through this. Our leaders have to understand this and be as frustrated about it as they are. But we also have reason to be optimistic, but only if we get this election right. And that's why I'm asking everyone for their vote here in Iowa in the caucuses, because if I'm our nominee, we are going to unite the Republican Party, we are going to grow the conservative movement, and we're going to defeat Hillary Clinton and turn this country around.
Back in the Senate, you tried to work with the other side and try to get through some kind of immigration reform. I'm curious what that fight taught you.
Well, first of all, that was in a time when Harry Reid was the majority leader, and that's the best we could do. When I'm president, we're not doing that bill. We're doing it my way. And my way begins by making sure ISIS doesn't get into America. When I'm president, if we don't know who you are or why you're coming, you're not going to get into the United States. Second, when I'm president, we're going to enforce our laws, and we're going to secure our border. We're going to add 20,000 new border agents. We're going to build 700 miles of fencing and walls. We're going to have a mandatory E-Verify and a mandatory entry-exit tracking system to prevent visa overstays. And until we do those two things, we're not going to do anything else. And we're not going to. I don't support amnesty. We're not going to have amnesty. People that have violated our laws are going to face serious consequences. If you're an alien, you're going to be immediately deported. If you're a sanctuary city, you're going to lose your federal funding. I hope we can work with Democrats on this. They've largely basically said that either we do it their way or they're going to continue to want to use this as a political tool to attack us on in the elections. I think the American people recognize that we need to bring this issue under control once and for all. After 30 years of talk, it's time to act.
So Democrats were in charge back there when you tried to get that through. But as you know, some opponents try to use that kind of as an albatross around you now, that you even tried to do that to begin with.
Well, but Ted Cruz is one of the ones that's attacking me on it, and he supported legalizing people that are here illegally. He sponsored an amendment that would have done that, and he actually is on a video with CBS News in an interview saying that for the people that are here illegally, we can reach some sort of compromise. It's only now that he's running for president that he portrays himself as this harsh critic of illegal immigration, but up until 3 weeks ago, it wasn't clear what he stood for other than what he had done in the past. He wanted to legalize people that were here illegally. Ted Cruz wanted to double the number of green cards, and Ted Cruz wanted a 500% increase in H-1B visas and guest workers. And that's his record on immigration.
Okay, settle this for people. Once you get through all of this, will somebody who's been undocumented and get here, can they stay or not? Is there any way they can ever stay?
First of all, nothing is going to happen with those people until we first secure our border. Right. And that has to happen, not just pass a law. It has to be in place. Once that's in place, if you can't pass a background check, if you've committed a crime, you will be deported. If you haven't, I think people will be reasonable about someone who's been here 20 years. They're going to have to pay a big fine. They're going to have to start paying taxes. They're going to have to learn English, and they'll get a work permit. And that's all they're going to have for a long time. They're never going to be awarded citizenship. They're never going to be handed a green card. At some point, maybe they can apply for one like anybody else would, but not through a special process. But not until they've served a long probationary period for violating our laws and paid a big fine. But none of that's even going to be talked about. We're not even going to debate that issue or even begin until we have brought illegal immigration under control. In essence, until we've built the wall, until we've hired the agents and they're in place, until E-Verify is in place and working, and until we have a system that keeps ISIS out of America, we are not doing anything else on immigration.